I'm going to say HayprO. He's going to take it just because he's a ZVT specialist.
Yeah, he's really good at ZVT.
He's taken out pretty good players with his Terran. Still been pretty lackluster, but it's going to be a hard match against Braddock, who is really strong overall in all matchups, but I think he's also good in TVZ as well.
Yeah, Braddock has 60% win rate, and you know he's beaten players like Morrow in the RSL, and he did take a game off Zenio when he played against him for Season 3, but overall he's not bad by any means. Just of course it's not as good as his other matchups like TVT. Regardless, Braddock is the yellow Zerg, the yellow Terran, the red what? The yellow Terran in the bottom right. I don't know what's going on, Andre. It's been a long night. And in the top left we have HayprO, the red Zerg from Team Liquid. Braddock, of course, was from FXO. HayprO from Team Liquid. Andre, I've been talking too long, man. You need to just help me, man. It's pretty steamy in this.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the metagame switches and why we don't see Hellions anymore. Super early. A lot of times we used to see Reactor Hellion expands. You would get the barracks and then gas and then throw down the factory, get the reactor really quick and start attacking with some Hellions. And what you could do behind that is obviously add on a ton of units. You can go for a Hellion Marine Marauder attack, or you can just expand, take a really quick expansion. The problem arose when the Queens actually gained 5 range, because for a while you can attack the Queens and then drop back, and it forced Zerg to actually get roaches or spine crawlers or something to actually deal with these Hellions. But now that they can just make Queens, all of the investments that they normally had to make, or all of the reactions that they normally had to make, don't exist.
Yeah, they just, it's not there anymore.
The Queens are sustainable, so they're just pouring all of this investment, whether it be, you know, additional drones or a really powerful attack, whatever it might be. They're pouring all the investment into their economy, into their development, and normally out-developing the Terran. And that's why Terrans have had to really step off and say, this harassment doesn't work. I can't actually do anything with it. I'm going to drop back and change up my build completely.
I think it was 8 queens. Or was it 7? I think it was 7. That 7 queen build from DRG was absolutely nasty, where he was spreading creep on all areas of the map. By 12 minutes in the game, it was at the natural. And it was just so ridiculous, because that's just the potential of creep spread. It's just absolutely amazing to watch Zerg with great mechanics to be able to execute that. And that's why it's been really strong now in Zika Shipyards. That's even more important, because you want to spread creep not just to your third, but also out to the middle of the map. And not only just the middle map, but around the center, so that way you can set up flanks. And that's why ultimately, because of the wide open area, this map's fantastic for Ling and Fester, Ultra combinations and whatnot. So we might see a little bit of that. We might see a mix-up, but for now, HayprO known to play pretty middle-of-the-road standard ZVT. But that's why his Roach Bane bust was so devastating, because Braddock wasn't really expecting that.
Yeah, I mean, Braddock is definitely a player that likes to play for bio in this early game stage. I think his build might be a little bit... Oh, never mind. Forget it. Forget what I said. So Braddock's the one changing it up this time around, going second factor. This is most likely going to be either Blue Flame Hellion, or it's going to be double Reactor Hellion and just trying to run by and do a ton of damage. Still, it has been nerfed since the Queens, because a lot of these players, a lot of these Zergs have been just going the standard 4 Queens and then putting down gas. And with 4 Queens, you spread creep really fast, so you know where the Hellions are. On top of that, you have a lot of energy for transfuse, in case you need it for spine crawlers or even other Queens.
We see a Roach Warren again from HayprO, as well as 2 gases. And of course, this could be reactive, because he could suspect what his opponent's up to. He doesn't exactly see anything, but HayprO just getting the general timings of it down. We see no fast third attempt from Braddock. Sometimes when Terrans go for this kind of opening, they go for a third orbital. But just like you said, Andre, Terrans realizing that it's just letting Zerg drone up a little bit too much. And that is the idea of having these Hellions mid-game. You can see Infernal Pre-Igniter already started. And that's just going to give a lot of control if HayprO chooses to go for mass Lings. But that is not the case. HayprO's getting some Roaches out here.
Yeah, this will actually be another Roach Zerking Baneling all in my opinion. As we only have 2 Queens out in the field.
Oh, you're right.
That is actually most definitely what we see. If we were going to go into a macro game, you would actually see 3-4 queens out in the field. Creep spread would be, you know, moving forward, obviously. But there's the Baneling nest.
Great
and
call, Andre.
I think Braddock, this is going to be really tough to defend. But the difference is he has a lot of time to... Oh, my God. Okay. The Hellions have to actually see this coming.
Yeah, they see it, and he's immediately running back. Whereas Braddock, how do you respond? He does have a siege tank started immediately. Great choice. You know, getting the siege tanks out would be absolutely critical to his defense. But Braddock doesn't have siege mode. He did cancel his Infernal Pre-Igniter. Another great call to see if he can save those resources. But Braddock doesn't really have a direct answer to that. Braddock's making a command center. Oh my goodness.
He's crazy.
Huh? He is. If he holds this. I mean, Braddock is just man-moding it up.
Okay.
He's going to run by and try to see if he can eliminate a lot of the drones immediately. That's a very good call here from Braddock, but again, he has to deal with the fact that he has almost nothing back at home. Braddock has his SCVs ready in position to repair. But can he do this? Can he hold this?
I don't think he can, Frodan. I mean, all it takes is just a couple of really great sprays. Oh, and he's actually attacking the Banelings from the top, so that'll help a little bit. But look at this. Banelings just exploding directly onto the bunker. It goes down. Now all these SCVs are ripe for the picking, but he goes up into the... Oh, this might not be good, but still, Roach is obviously doing a ton of damage. I think Braddock, yeah, he's significantly behind right now.
Yeah, Braddock forced to lift from his natural. You can see the Zerglings dealing with the Hellions very nicely back at HayprO's base as well. HayprO completely okay with just devastating the natural while making more Baneling. Siege mode is about to finish, giving Braddock some ability to defend that ramp. But regardless, if HayprO just macros from this point, I mean, it's going to be really far ahead still, just like you said, because he kept his drones alive relatively.
But he needs to be careful. Now that there are siege tanks on the top, you can't really push into that at all, so just try to squirm your way out. See if you can squeeze by without actually being attacked. Yes, he will be able to. Kind of nice for him, but I like where HayprO is out. Obviously, he's very far ahead. Income tab shows 49 to 30 harvesters, 16 workers kill in total. But what HayprO should do from here is just start spreading his creep and actually go for drops, knowing your opponent is super rigid in that they don't have a lot of gas to work with. You've just stopped them from having 4 gas for so long. Really, really punish your opponent for not being able to defend so many different positions with that.
Ooh, the Hellions trying to run by again. Now HayprO, because he hasn't really been able to utilize his economy.
God.
Oh, the drones are running. He doesn't have a wall. He does manage to get a semi-surround onto the Hellions, but that is with the drones. He does not want that. And more drones in the main are very vulnerable. HayprO getting a little careless with the SimCity. As a result, losing a lot more workers than he should. The Banes finally detonate. But HayprO he lost 11 workers this far. And that was more workers than he had to. And I feel like HayprO didn't have to lose those drones, because if he just walled off, and he knew those Hellions were still in the field too.
Interesting. Now, this is a bio switch, which is very interesting in my opinion. I don't know what to make of this, but one thing I do know is HayprO is not spreading creep.
Yeah.
That's a big problem.
Well, you know what? While we're still pondering, let's take a closer look at what just transpired as we can go into instant replay. Now, the big thing is that he doesn't have this wall. Imagine if he had that wall, he'd have to go all the way around, and all of a sudden, HayprO had the trap. But with that, the Hellions now able to run in and really pick off any amount of drones. Now, the big thing was that HayprO was just about to hit 60 drones. But because of this Hellion run by, he's stuck in the mid-40s. And all of a sudden, he normally would have a very nice mid-game economy, still kind of spending a lot of his ARVA droning at this point as we go back into the live game.
Both players really haven't done anything so far. They're just trying to establish 3 base. HayprO, of course, having the small advantage in that he's able to have his 3rd base for much longer. But I don't think it's that big. I know it's crazy that I said that, but the fact of the matter is, yes, economy is great, but the fact that you don't have creep spread is a bigger problem. And you will be able to get a monstrous advantage if your creep is on your opponent's side of the map. I mean, if the creep is already over here by the time the 2-2 timing hits, then you've basically won the game. because now the Terran needs just one huge push to retake control of the map, and then another push to actually do damage to your opponent. You don't want to be walking up on creep to attack your opponent. That being said, I mean, Braddock, he could probably go into the middle of the map by now, establish that control, wait until 2-2, and then push forward, just because his opponent has been very, very lackadaisical in his creep spread.
Yeah, and you can see that at this point, HayprO is comfortable enough to get for that hive tech. Again, Morzerg, like we were talking about in the earlier series, is more comfortable to go for hive really quickly, not necessarily for the unit upgrades, but just for the tech. You can see HayprO trying to bust up the ramp of the third and losing a huge amount of units. And he just all of a sudden sacrificed a huge part of his supply just for...
That's crazy. Stay on Roach Lurking Baneling Infester. You know, keep that count going. There's no reason to actually trade in this position. If anything, obviously, it's worse because you're attacking into siege tanks. That's terrible. So
get this wall from Braddock. It's the Iron Curtain in 21st century.
It's beautiful.
Braddock, Braddock just has the iron wall.
And here we go.
There's nothing HayprO can really do. Oh, but he's going to move out.
2-2 timing.
But his siege tanks aren't in position, and HayprO's going to try to see if he can catch it before it. And the siege tanks are relatively clumped, so the Roaches have pretty easy protection over there. And one Baneling even managed to sneak behind enemy lines. HayprO shuts down the tanks, which is a huge backbone to Braddock's push. Even though the Marines in the end will be the ones pushing forward and adding damage, the fact is he can't fall back. And HayprO has Braddock has to do this without tanks, which is kind of difficult. So his 2-2 timing will be delayed significantly. A great job by HayprO.
One thing HayprO isn't doing, though, is, well, two things. Creep spread and also upgrades. And that will come into effect pretty soon here. 2-2 is already finished. 3-3 on the way. It looks like 1-1 for his ground is just about to finish. He's just getting his second Carapace. But watch how cost-efficient these Marines are going to be.
It's going to be tough because HayprO doesn't have good upgrades and he doesn't have a strong economy behind this. He does manage to get a surround, which is really powerful, but again, strong positioning. These rings are not going to be able to do anything. Great spots from Braddock. And HayprO's only got 60-some drones, and he had to spend some of it pumping out more drones because he realized his saturation isn't that good. His fourth base was sniped as well, and Braddock all of a sudden is going to even out the supplies, which is a very good sign for him, especially since he can take the center without contest.
This is crazy, and Braddock winning that fight actually gives him the initiative. Now he has the chance to do a lot of aggression on his opponent. Obviously, the fourth base being denied is paramount. He needs to attack that top middle. He doesn't know about it just yet, but a drop is coming into the main, and that will most likely scout out that top right-hand expansion as well as it departs or retreats. And what's so important is Braddock also has a new waypoint for his units. They can meet it up in the center of the map. Obviously,
just closing the gap for distance pushing, and it just makes Braddock that much harder to displace, especially with a planetary. And until you can get Broodlords, you can't really force himself out of the position. But again, Broodlord's not that good for this map because you can get surround positions, so you're forced to go Ling Ultra, like we were saying. And now all of a sudden HayprO is giving up way too much position. He can't really attack up this ramp. Being really indecisive with his units. Should he or shouldn't he? It doesn't matter. He's just going to go for it. Infestors are not there to fungal. Instead, he's just going to pull back while pressing the units. But HayprO is running low because he can't just stay on 3-base economy. He has nobles and no drones at the fourth. Another drop in the main again from Braddock. And this is the TVZ we've been expecting from Braddock as he is playing very well.
And he's going to keep hitting the main, and then the third, then the main, then the third, and play this positioning game, which is so difficult for HayprO to actually come back from. And it's because he lost map control. It's because he doesn't have creep spread. All these components are really hindering HayprO to a point where he can't actually be relevant in this game. He's constantly just chasing. Chase, chase, chase. He doesn't have room to actually make actions and make attacks for himself unless they're going to be very inefficient.
Braddock is going to drop the fourth once again. You can see HayprO forced to pull his units. HayprO finally getting things like chitinous plating, but again, his upgrades have been so delayed. +3/+3 finishes for Braddock. Now that gives him just an unbelievable amount of might, especially because things like drones don't have +3 carapace. They drop that much faster, and because, you know, the queens also, and it's just all these things tally up over time, making it really hard for HayprO to cover all of his bases. HayprO is approaching max, but he doesn't have that many infestors. All of his supply really is just scattered across and doesn't have a lot of potential to bust this. And good splits from Back should be able to take on this army.
Yep, and you can see the Zerglings are actually being picked off really nicely. He's dropping back, making sure the Zerglings are actually going to concave around the siege tanks, and then picking them off as they do the most damage, but still a lot of damage. Wow, HayprO is really impressive. I didn't think he would actually be able to take out everything here, but he is starting to whittle down. HayprO needs to get to his opponent's production line if he wants to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, HayprO is anxiously trying to bust forward. I mean, at this point, what's really helping HayprO are these ultras really get into position. Braddock wasn't able to get the best splits. He let his units get hit by Banelings, which has surprised me so much because those Banelings didn't have Baneling speeds. The Trigger Hooks is not even finished. And as a result, Braddock lost a huge chunk of his Marines to the Banelings. And now all of a sudden, HayprO has a huge opening to really take on this army, but again, a lot of the supply are in these ultras, and as soon as they drop, you'll see an equalizing of sorts. Braddock sending his units back at the third to long distance mine, but I don't think HayprO can really bust in this. He's just trying to will himself in, and these ultras are dropping really quickly.
Oh man, by the skin of his teeth, Braddock is able to hold this. And I think going for this base, although it's really good and it's forward-looking, StarCraft II, I think, punishes players for having their opponents inside the production line a lot more than, let's say, Starcraft 1. And I think this is like a style that HayprO has been so used to. I think every single Starcraft 1 pro has been used to. Take out the expansion and then go from there. But I think the correct decision from here would have been to go directly into the production line and wipe out all of Braddock's structures.
Now HayprO struggles with getting up his economy. He doesn't have the gas to really resupply the way he would like to. Braddock still has the flexibility. He just needs to get up supply depots. And he still has that planetary, which is pretty useful just, again, for positioning. And generally, just in the map control, Braddock still looks really good. HayprO, again, his creep hasn't been extending anywhere near the center, and as a result, hasn't been able to really resume too much map presence. But I think now that HayprO is finally starting to get things like +3 melee weapons, he might be able to start facing off better. He just needs to pull himself together and get a strong economy again.
Oh yeah. Another big thing is like these drops have been doing so much and displacing his units. It's a shame. This is a really tough position for HayprO to be in, actually. But here we go, another big engagement, and the Zerglings are actually going to tank all the damage in the beginning. That is a lot of DPS that he loses here. Now, wow, great splits. Is it going to keep him alive? Look at this, Ultras against Marine Marauder. Not a good fight, I think, for those Ultras, and they're actually going to go down.
Especially with no creep. And just like you were saying, if Braddock can really hold on to this, again, a huge amount of supply, this is a lot of gas representation from HayprO. By losing these Ultras, then HayprO really doesn't have that strong, again, to his backbone of the army. He's got 21 Lings, 2 Infestors, and an Ultra that just died. So he's only got Lings and Infestors left and nothing else. So HayprO is now dipped below triple digits. A drop again doing damage. Braddock being such a nuisance with it. And I mean, this is pretty much the TVZ that Braddock was planning for, denying the ability to really mine. Because Braddock knows if this fourth drops, that's it. HayprO's on 1 base, and Braddock's on 3.
And think about the beginning that we had. For Braddock to come back into this game after being so far behind from that all-in, it's really a testament to his skill. And that's why I think Braddock first game didn't want to give up, but knew he eventually had to. HayprO is going to come, or excuse me, is going to try to defend this, but losing this fourth over here, giving up this much position, not having creep spread on the map, being susceptible to these drops, they all are components that led to his defeat, I think, in this game.
I also think because Braddock got high-sec auto-tracking and building.
You are absolutely right. My God.
I was like, what? Wait, I'm clicking on the planetary. I'm like, yeah, it's +2
5 armor.
And it's got 7 range. You can see those Zerglings and Infestors while trying to work onto this planetary. But look at that. I mean, even if he gets this planetary, Braddock got what he wanted, which is denying the 4th base, and now he's going to be able to deal with all his units, and the building armor stall for just enough time for Braddock to be able to get in position and take out the units. HayprO now down in the 60s. GG. Braddock takes game number 2 and ties it up, sending us to our night's first game 3.
Very well played by Mr. Braddock. He, obviously stuck in it. I think a lot of Terrans would have actually GG'd after losing so many SCVs, 15 SCVs in that early game stage. That's just about half of your economy. But Braddock, he doesn't care, man. He just goes.
Yep. And Braddock playing very well. Again, this pretty much broke down everything in the ending moments. So let's just thank our sponsor, Azo, for providing the monitors at NASL Season 3. We like Azo a lot, in case you can't tell. We'll be back with game number 3 between HayprO and Braddock. What map will it be? What's going to happen? Find out after this commercial.